growing up is a stressful event for kids to go through. Learning how to manage emotions, build relationships, and find some enjoyment in a world where you're not in control can create occasional feelings of frustration. With increased sensitivity in our culture comes increased focus on one of the main accelerators in stress levels of kids: bullying. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nick Steever, a father, husband, dog lover, photographer, and a new teacher. In addition to those things, I have also been a victim of bullying. And as ashamed as I am to say this, I also identify as a former bully myself. Acknowledging that is important, because that experience is far more common than I think we as a society would like to admit. Bullying isn't just an experience that kids go through, but it thrives in the business world, entertainment, religion, and politics. With that said, the topic is overwhelming. And as damaging and pervasive as it is, the best hope we have to address it for the future may be in schools and homes with our children. Life is a complex ordeal with a lot of moments of conflict, but bullying and conflict are very different. Both can result in harm, but bully differ specifically in the imbalance of power. The bully chooses to cause harm and seeks pleasure from it. They choose who to harm based on the perceived weakness of the target. Kids with low self-esteem, low social status, or anything the bully might detect as a vulnerability might make someone a target. It's often coming from a place of insecurity too, as many bullies often have low self-esteem or flaws themselves. Many bullies exhibit tendencies of psychopathy with a lack of empathy and narcissism, with an inflated sense of their own importance. They are typically aggressive and seek dominant social hierarchy to exist in their favor. Bullying is a learned behavior, and individuals that bully often have association with other bullies or view them favorably. Many come from abusive homes or have absent or uninvolved caregivers. The highest predictor, though, is that they have all been victims themselves. Dr. Vanlal Thanzami, while researching cyberbullying in her home country of Malaysia, surveyed 478 young people ages 15 to 24 and asked how they identified over 4 categories: bullies, victims of bullying, both bully and victim, and neither. The results showed overwhelmingly skewed towards people that were both victims and perpetrators of bullying, with around 66% of her sample identifying in that category. So when I said earlier that I had personally been both bullied and a bully myself, I seem to be in the majority. This statistic is not encouraging. It means that bullying doesn't just harm its victims, but makes bullies out of them. As teachers, how can we support students in a world where bullying is so harmful, so common, and so ubiquitous? How can parents or kids themselves? The first thing would be to familiarize ourselves with resources available. Follow the QR codes on the following slides for helpful websites. The Crisis Text Line has information for immediate connection with mental health support. StopBullying.gov is a federal government website managed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services with information for teachers and parents to familiarize themselves with a ton of information across the spectrum of bullying. Teachers can be watchful for signs at school to identify cases where bullying is happening. Typically, bullying takes place outside of the view of authorities. School playgrounds, lunchrooms, buses, or restrooms are common locations for incidents of bullying. Even though bullies love an audience, they will avoid places where their behavior can have consequences. Gateway behaviors such as cruelly laughing at and encouraging others to join in, or ignoring and excluding are common. Intimidation, name-calling, and violence are more severe examples. These are where incidents begin, so a response is needed when anything like these are noticed. If a student becomes detached from activities or seems to avoid other classmates, there could be something brewing. If a student is getting unusual amount of attention, it could be due to some gossip or rumors floating around. If a child starts becoming frequently absent or appears injured without explanation, it may be time to take the student aside and find out what's happening. One of the most important things a teacher has is their relationship with their students in their care. Fostering connection and trust are essential if a student needs help from an adult. Bullying is traumatic, and sensitivity to what students may be going through is paramount. Creating a trauma-informed classroom is a way to foster safe haven for students. Being proactive is better than being reactive. So modeling empathy and kindness while cultivating connection between students can potentially stop bullying incidents before they happen. Ensuring students know each other as well as possible. Displaying resources prominently in the room, the same as you would other safety information, like fire exits or first aid graphics. Use role play to introduce opportunities to practice strategies and grow empathy. Drama, literature, or visual arts can open up conversations to challenge students' understanding and develop perspective. Another valuable conversation to have is on the difference between telling and tattling. I always tell kids that telling keeps people safe, while tattling is just about getting them in trouble. Students will often be reluctant to stand up to bullies or report them out of fear of repercussions, but making sure students understand that when safety is concerned, making sure the right people are informed can make a tremendous difference. It is important that there be consequences for any student engaged in bullying, but the impact of abuse from being targeted by bullies rests soundly in the boundaries of safety. Even though teachers have kids in their care all day, there's still nobody that knows kids better than their parents and caregivers. What can parents be on the lookout for? Before I get ahead of myself, I want to note that the first thing on the list is the most important of all. Listen to your children. Make sure they know that they can come to you. Believe them when they talk about how they feel. Let them know that you love them and that they can trust you completely. Now that we're clear on that, because kids still might not open up for any number of reasons, keep your eyes on any physical signs like injuries, damaged or missing clothing or belongings, or clothing that may be used to hide signs of injury. Be aware of behavioral changes like loss of appetite, increased anxiety and irritability. Nightmares and poor sleep patterns can also be warning signs. Parents can teach their children how to respond to bullies. Using role play can be helpful in building confidence. Making sure they know how to identify trusted teachers and friends that can help and inform them how to behave responsibly and safely online. Make sure to always remind them of how amazing they are and why they deserve to be treated well. It's important to stay informed on cyberbullying, having boundaries and rules in place on technology, and familiarizing yourself with what apps and platforms kids are using. Know where to go for support, and make plans how to proceed if your child becomes targeted. Include your child in that plan to ensure that you are in agreement, and give them ownership of the game plan. Since we've established the connection between victims becoming perpetrators of bullying, we should talk about how to proceed if your child is engaging as a bully. Many warning signs are shared between bullies and their victims, like low self-esteem and irritability. If that irritability looks more like aggression, that should be a red flag. If a child associates with others that engage in bullying or admires those that do, like certain celebrities and politicians, it's time to talk. Talking to kids that may be abusing others to ensure they know that you have expectations for their behavior and that there are consequences from you and at school if they cross that line. Make sure they see you modeling empathy and take effort to have a bully-free home. Online safety and responsibility should always be established, and in some cases, closely monitoring activity could be appropriate. Learning everything you can about bullying, cyber safety, and services is just as important for the bully's parents as it is for the families of their targets. Understanding where the behavior is coming from is essential to address what's going on. Hurt people, is a phrase that comes to mind, and every child needs to have what's hurting them resolved. So what do we do? Bullying is not natural behavior. It's learned, but it seems to be taught across every national and cultural line in one way or another. Like I said before, being proactive is better than being reactive. Have the conversation with kids at home and in the classroom, and hope kids talk about it together. Model compassion and kindness, love and sensitivity, and create an environment where bullying can't be sustained. Thank you for listening. Let's not forget to love each other.